Gridon Raji, you want to maintain a bit of the temple to get Jojo. Major Nagitana be singing Tangi Tendo. Toja Lana me Payanda was Joby Sanji component with Kennedy Tobra Shago. Ketobra Shavi Cheto, and we children but Jasen and Becono Shangi Semchi, Sembegon Assembly.
Let me remind all of ourselves to strive for complete enlightenment for the sake of liberating infinite, kind, mother sentient beings. And for that reason, we should cultivate the altruistic motivation or bodhicitta motivation. With that kind of motivation, we should participate in this teaching.
No. I couldn't in that round and gauge tender on Sanji Combo Toba Chevy Chedo, Nature, King shaking some that tree shaking and tree shaking somebody, and then Yanking and that round and gauge turned to Sanji Combo Toba Chevy Chedo, training somebody. I couldn't read tango to us.
So what we have just done is cultivated the altruistic motivation seeking Buddhahood or complete enlightenment for the benefit of both self and others. And all of us who are here, I as a teacher or speaker, and you as listeners or the audience, all of us, have cultivated that kind of altruistic motivation.
I think any Sanji Combat any around top two reverse somebody that the young son of calling was.
Having cultivated such a benevolent motivation and attitude, it is very possible that we may ask this kind of question to ourselves: would I be able to actualize complete enlightened state? Would I be able to attain such an enlightened state?
That can take any Yichi any better than each go any around so Yichi 20 years.
But there are reasons and examples that we can look at which would support our belief or the conviction that it is very possible for us to become a complete enlightened person.
Well, and Sanji Tamation tires. Then the Samalo, then Anita was drinking with Sanji. Maoban is in Jindus Sanji. The Samalo, Tangaranzo, Nagishin, Tambo on the bed, Sanji Yemet in the Yamaras, Tambo Aranzo Nagi. Then in a rebellion base, I usually the same shade. And so sad the Janani, 산지 공부 토버레스 손장 나란초 따땡나기 시 여버지 하고 그러면서
Now, there have been many Buddhas and enlightened beings in the past, and there are still many who are becoming enlightened beings or Buddhas in the present, and there will be many who will become Buddhas in the future. So what we really need to understand is this, that all of the beings who have become Buddhas, in the beginning they were just like as ordinary a person as we are today. There is no such thing as somebody being a Buddha right from the get-go. Everybody starts as an ordinary person or a being, and then we cultivate bodhicitta, or the altruistic mind of enlightenment, or bodhisattva's attitude. And through such mind training, then we engage in fulfilling the two types of accumulation of merit and wisdom, and purification of two types of mental obscuration. And through this process, then we could become a complete enlightened being or a Buddha. That's how Buddhas in the past have done, and that's how Buddhas in the present are doing, and that's how Buddhas who will become Buddhas in the future will do. So these are great examples before us, which really should inspire us in the sense that it's very possible for me to become a Buddha.
다 된다 시기나 된주건 시기나 ngaranchu 다 참말로 배 드바니부터 ngaranchu 요레스 티 딩이데 드바니부터 아니 다 랑주기 랑주지 아니 다 다든지 바세나면도 당지 마르 바테니 들라텐 숑브레스 제잔 당지 마르 바텔 테 아니 타 매버서야 다 냠부치 양다부치 요데레스.
Now, from substantive point of view or theoretical point of view, it is also very possible for each of us to become a Buddha or complete enlightened being. All of us in our mind have broadly stated two types of mental obscuration. We have delusions or obscuration to nirvana or liberation, and we have mental obscurations to omniscient wisdom. And these two types of mental obscuration that each of us have are rooted in our ignorant conception of grasping at self or I. But that is the root delusion that we need to get rid of. But the great news is that there is what we call a very effective antidote to counteract and to get rid of ignorant grasping at self.
당아란 쪽 샘기도를 랑기 외사기 샘팅아란 쪽 요랬을 때 나 이시제다 넘버 10이 이신 원 주름기 요랬을 때 대자마세 아니 아란 쪽 아니 리터 tangi yores rangi niris jenju jirekse ni yores tesa rangi niris ta sanje ke kunjurun ke ta teme ba de be ta teme yo de ba ani tangrisin do ani ngaran so sanje ke rikki ngaran so ta rang chesu ye de yores.
Let me put it in another way, that our mind is of clear light nature, and so this clear light mind can eventually transform into an omniscient mind or wisdom of a Buddha or enlightened being. Now, when we look inside our mind, so to speak, we have two types of what we call Buddha nature, or seeds of enlightenment. And one is called what we call naturally abiding Buddha nature. And the other is called, developable Buddha nature, developable in the sense that which can be enhanced and developed. And so our naturally abiding Buddha nature that we have at the moment, if you will, is, is obscured by, mental obscurations.
Same la any same the any tomato body or was just a tomato lover was tomato to pay lover what is there's tomato any same rangil huya maris cananga. There's tomato same rangil maguba insane any tomato tagiris. When the tomato tag because so this same rank same versa same the no the chimin that tell any genju so tamne any sanjiko juju there is.
In other words, that our mind is at the moment what are called stained or contaminated or deluded. But the delusions or mental obscurations in our mind are very advantageous. They have not contaminated the very clear light nature of our mind. They have simply, if you will, temporarily obscured our mind, and they are very advantageous in the nature, as Geshe quoted the lines from an authentic text. The delusions or mental obscurations are just advantageous. And so they have not really contaminated or polluted the very clear light nature of our mind, which means that our mind and delusions can be separated from one another because they are not one and the same thing. And so once we purify our mind of delusions and mental obscurations, we are able to experience and see the manifestation of, if you will, clear light nature of mind. When this clear light nature of mind is activated, is enhanced, through what we call cultivating developable Buddha nature or the seed of enlightenment, then this clear light nature of our mind eventually transforms into an enlightened body or a kaya, Buddha's body.
Genju rig so tatan carriage na tatela anita flower launch negos only zoomy jansum shade. The zoomy jans the wind roguers. Singing also jo said the journey, Malam was jobbers. And then means singing also mipas. And then Sanji King's on reading some wind roguers.
So how can we activate the developable Buddha nature in our mind? There is a whole process to do that, which is referred to as Dzog Min Chang Sum. There are three-factor, if you will, activation system, so to speak. Dzog means to accomplish or to complete something, literally, which means it is the fulfillment of prayers. It is the fulfillment of aspirational prayers. And Min means to ripen, to mature, which means it's ripening the minds of sentient beings. And the Chang, which means purification, if you will, or cleansing. So this purification in the sense that we need to do practices to purify environment in which we can become a Buddha. So we are talking about creating pure and perfect environment Buddha field, of our future environment or Buddha fields. So through this three-factor activation system called Dzog Min Changsum, fulfillment, ripening, and purification, that we are able to activate and enhance our developable Buddha nature, and through that we can become Buddhas.
남진 도신 다 송고야래 림이장 손이 조스 또 산지 공부 줘발래 드바니장 당기 휘차래 근데 다 디토라는 초니 보든가 봐도 조고요레스 손나디 his choice 다 디니보테 조고요레스.
Another way to put what I've just explained to you, if that sounds too technical, like fulfillment, ripening, and purification, Dzog Min Changsum, but another way which we often talk about is this, that we need to do purification and accumulation practices. And purification practices involve purifying our mind of two types of mental obscuration to nirvana or personal liberation called delusions, kleshya, and obscuration to omniscience or the imprints of delusions for simplicity's sake. So we need to purify our mind of those two types of mental obscuration, and also we need to complete or fulfill the two types of accumulation of merit, Tsunam Gyeltsen, or positive energy, and accumulation of insight or wisdom, Geshe Tsultim. So through the fulfillment of the two types of accumulation and purification of two types of mental obscuration, we are able to become complete enlightened persons called Buddhas. So central to purification and accumulation practices is to cultivate bodhicitta, or the altruistic mind of enlightenment, bodhisattva's attitude in our own mind, without which we cannot do the purification and accumulation practices I just mentioned.
Shoba Puyatan, the Karishabin, Takanji gave it out, gets a Kandiji Sabi in them, Sonum Kandiji Sabi in them, Shanji Simji Sympathy Gurus.
Why is development of bodhicitta central to accumulation practices, if you ask? When we talk about Tsunam Gyeltsen, accumulation of merit, which is a technical term, what we really mean, definitionally speaking, is that whatever positive action or energy or practice that we undertake with altruistic motivation or bodhicitta motivation, such practice of virtue or action, it becomes a part of accumulation of merit or positive energy. So with bodhicitta, we could be making offerings, we could be doing any virtue or positive action, you just name it. And in order to fulfill accumulation of wisdom or insight, Geshe Tsultim, of course, one of the primary factors is to cultivate insight or wisdom that realizes emptiness or shunyata or sunnata as it is, the ultimate nature of all phenomena. But that wisdom, the wisdom gone beyond, or the wisdom understanding emptiness, must be conjoined with bodhicitta, or the altruistic mind of enlightenment. Only then we could be talking about accumulation of wisdom or insights.
and then a river new bus, just a new drip, Pangbola Sanju Saran Shegu Yamare. Yenaya, Hiji Drabane, Pangba Shabala Anta, Shedugunian Buguni, don't you to be shared and Sanju sympathy, draw the Kevin Google.
So I hope now you see the point how development of bodhicitta is central to our accumulation practices, accumulation of merit and accumulation of wisdom. Now let me also explain the importance of cultivating bodhicitta with regard to purification practice. As I mentioned a little earlier, that there are two types of mental obscuration that we need to get rid of. One is usually simply called delusions or delusive obscuration, nyunti, which obscures or obstructs us from attaining freedom from physical existence or to attain nirvana. But to purify our mind of delusions, we do not need, there is no absolute necessity to cultivate bodhicitta. Without bodhicitta, with the realization of emptiness, we can get rid of delusions from within our mind. However, in order to get rid of mental obscuration to omniscient wisdom called Shidip, it is absolutely necessary that our wisdom realizing emptiness must be conjoined with bodhicitta or the altruistic mind of enlightenment, without which we cannot purify our mind of mental obscuration to omniscient state, which means we cannot become Buddhas.
Sanjay Compoto was about Sony Sagu, Rivani Jango, that Sony Sag, Rivan Shepala, Sanjay Serum, which education which was.
So, in essence, to summarize my points, in order for us or for anybody to become a Buddha or enlightened being, we must purify our mind of two types of mental obscuration, and development of bodhicitta is very important to that practice. And more importantly, bodhicitta is necessary for us to be able to fulfill our practice of accumulations of merit and wisdom. And without bodhicitta, conjoined with the wisdom gone beyond, we cannot become an enlightened being.
That's on the Dash and you say, Rambuchi, and you share a shepala take you got a check and then Samba Chamber, he chamber and you share.
So if bodhicitta is so central to our practice and to become Buddha, then what are the important causes of the factors to cultivate bodhicitta in our mind, if you ask? Among the causes, the important causes for developing bodhicitta are great love, mahametri, and great compassion, mahakaruna.
No, that's I'm the same time, but he chamber down, and Samba Chamber and you share a shepala, that is just thinking the meaning, aren't you share?
Then you can ask, how do we cultivate great love and great compassion? Well, we could only cultivate great love and great compassion focusing on the infinite sentient beings.
That is thinking the meaning, and the Shamba down, that Shamba Chamber, he was share was yate, Saint Ranga was something to do, Amar, Saint Tom Kill Mipe, this Shamba down, he that Ranjul Shegu.
So when we say that we need to focus on sentient beings to cultivate great love and great compassion, we literally mean focusing on each and every sentient beings, or what we call all underlying sentient beings. If we simply focus on certain sentient beings or limited number of sentient beings or even limitless sentient beings, that is not enough. We must focus on all sentient beings.
So that Shamba Chamber down, he gave me that, can they say, Kuni Muba the Cuba, you send you Tangi in Muba if you were shit. That number the Mandara.
When we look at great love and great compassion, in terms of their objective focus, they have the same focus. Both great love and great compassion are objectively focused on all sentient beings. There is no difference. But they do differ in terms of subjective aspects or experiences. Great love and great compassion, they are different in terms of their subjective aspects. The subjective aspect of great compassion is genuinely wishing all sentient beings to be free from suffering and problems.
So that he can go to Zane, when he can go to Zane, Muba Sinja Tankele Mene, number the Sinja to Tamaluta, Dungeta. That Tana Kimaru, Tauji, Tau Dagisha, and Dig and that, the Dig content, and the Sumney, Gongu.
So when we cultivate great compassion through meditation in our mind, we focus our mind on all sentient beings with suffering, and then we sincerely wish all sentient beings to be free from suffering and its causes. And we generate positive attitudes such as how nice it would be if all sentient beings are free from suffering and its causes. May sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May I be able to, contribute or help sentient beings to be free from suffering and its causes. So by generating such thoughts, we are cultivating a compassionate mind, which is called great compassion for all sentient beings.
That thing, Gomdizane, Singy Hill Pandus and Mig, Dunga Yonki, Singy, but Mig did with some Maimpe. That Rantone, when the Ral Dunga pay part of my budget championship showing in. Then do the nigger time you don't into the credit trainer, somebody socially Yorubas. Did Nagige. That and yet the Palm Samalo Mudizane, the Rigige, Sanoching about the Korsovici. Shego, that the Rigge, Menantone, the Rigge, somebody shoot up with Mazum, but do that gongo. No more tempered.
As we cultivate great compassion for sentient beings, there's no need for us to go and find sentient beings who are suffering, and so we can see with our eyes, they got suffering. We don't need to do that. But based upon our own experience of sufferings, we can infer, the suffering sentient beings go through. When we encounter or experience any major problem of suffering, how do we feel? It is, we want to be free from whatever that suffering is as soon as possible. We don't like it. We do not want to be, have it, and we want to be free from it. So in the same way, we can think about how all sentient beings would like to be free from suffering. They don't want suffering any more than we do. And so when we wish sentient beings to be free from sufferings, we mean literally all sentient beings. There should not be any, untoward biases, towards sentient beings. We cannot discriminate among sentient beings as friends, strangers, and enemies. Literally, there are no friends, enemies, and strangers. All sentient beings are, going through the same situation, suffering, and we wish all sentient beings to be free from suffering.
No. That Shamba Chamber that the Shamba Gondisani Dosine, Single movie Shamba Gondisani, you were singing Tangi, but you were shit. Number 10, Dawata Dendurita, Tangi, you were doing it to transition Sambaimba. That done that the Shamba Gondisani, singing, move a singing Tangi Lemene, number Ane, Dawata Denduter. Dangerous number shegu.
So now when we cultivate great love, Mahametri for sentient beings, again, our objective focus is just the same as great compassion. We focus our mind on all sentient beings. But the subjective aspect of great love is very different. Great love wishes sentient beings to be happy, to be endowed with happiness. Now, as I explained to you, that great compassion wishes sentient beings to be free from suffering and its causes. Now, the great love wishes sentient beings to be happy and to have the causes of happiness.
So that Senji Tangi many the number 10 Senji Tangi Devata Dena Chimarun Samashe, Tambode. And Denver treat you said, Tanimba. Somebody the Denver dog shows that the creature is somebody that Denver Senji Denver Rank Ton Shegi somebody that finishes that leaking something.
So as we cultivate great love for all sentient beings, our mind is focused on all sentient beings, and we truly wish them to be free, to have happiness in its causes. And we cultivate a series of positive thoughts, attitudes, such as, first we could say, how nice it would be if sentient beings are happy or find happiness. Then the next thought we cultivate is, may sentient beings be happy or find happiness. And after that, we cultivate the thought, may I be able to contribute or help sentient beings to find happiness. So this is how, we feel the sense of responsibility to contribute to the happiness of sentient beings. So through cultivating these thoughts, we cultivate great love for sentient beings. So we cultivate great love and great compassion through such ways until we develop true experiences of love and compassion in our mind and heart for sentient beings. So as we cultivate great love and great compassion in our mind, and once we succeed in cultivating great love and great compassion for sentient beings, then these attitudes give rise to bodhicitta, or the altruistic mind of enlightenment. When we have real bodhicitta, if you will, then day in and day out, we find ourselves preoccupied with the wish to find complete enlightened state in order to benefit all sentient beings. So we have that kind of a, sense of altruism and dedication to strive for enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So what I want to say here, as I summarize my explanation, that our goal is to become Buddhas or enlightened beings for the sake of sentient beings. And what that really involves is, finding happiness, peace, and the best of everything, prosperity for sentient beings. And the source for our spiritual development and finding enlightenment for sentient beings is to appreciate, our connection with all sentient beings, who we call Cho they are like our masters. They are our boss in a positive sense. They are real boss in a positive sense, and we appreciate them. So in light of all these things I just explained, I want to quote the often quoted words from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who often advises us that if possible, we should try to help and benefit others meaning sentient beings. We try to do that through our actions of body, speech, and mind. But even if we are not able to help or benefit others, at least, we should see that we do not harm them and hurt them. So those of us who are interested in cultivating bodhicitta, bodhisattva's attitude, and also have taken bodhisattva vows, we have made a commitment to benefit sentient beings, and in that sense, we cannot ignore or disregard any sentient being. And we cannot think in our mind that, okay, this sentient being or those are my enemies, so therefore I really don't care what happens to them. But I really care about the rest of all other sentient beings. No, there is no such thing as these are the ones I don't care, but they are those I care. Well, bodhicitta does not discriminate. So therefore, in our mind, we must check and see that we do not exclude sentient beings as strangers and enemies, but that we really care for all sentient beings.
That's thinking, same with Tony Le Matava Maze, and then I don't care stand Labjua.
Of course, the most important thing is first we train our mind and attitude so that we really truly mean what we believe in, that we care for sentient beings. So in our mind, we do not, exclude any sentient beings out of that caring attitude, labeling them as enemies and strangers. But as we develop our attitude in such a caring way, now that must also be reflected in our actions, in the verbal actions. For example, Geshe said, not only that we should not think about, excluding sentient beings, but we must not even say, I don't care about you. I don't care about these people or beings. We should not even say that.
I don't care that. I tell you, that pan Zensadi, Tapsadi, Ranguli Pinomota, Missing again Tabjammer, Tapsia Yammers, Le Tonjammer. That Le Tonjutan, Tapsia Sadi, Rang Julia, at Yamotanzilla, Tabgodoa.
It is important for us to educate ourselves and recognize what are the things that we can say, I don't care. And really, there are things in our mind we call delusions. So we must combat with them or fight with them, because that's our real job as practitioners. And so when they are causing disturbances, then we could say, I don't care about you. And I'm going to do everything to get rid of you and to let go you, and I don't care. That we can do, and that we should do.
I don't care anger. I don't care ignorance. I don't care. Then what is that? Attachment. No? Then they thank when you don't that does it. And this one was I think the Jao country Tambo. Done none and doing your monters. May I give you troponas. Not just near Jason Junkiana. And then that teaches she damaris. Nanga da, Ranguli, young, Nanga da.
His Holiness, the first Dalai Lama, Jawa Kendudub, in his spiritual, songs or the poems, very beautifully and profoundly stated, as Geshe quoted the lines from his memory. Oh, my dear friends who would like to follow my way, realize that the real enemies are inside you, and these are the enemies of delusions. And if you want to fight enemies, fight with them.
That thing, when you done, Rang Tola Mundepe, condition, condition, and Samalo, Rang Ranguli, Rang Danyam, but Zogek.
If we really take time to think about, how could delusions be our real enemies, and all kinds of unhappiness, problems, suffering, pain, everything that we go through life are because of our delusions.
And then go to Casondo, and then that Rangili opinion, but that Nyawatan Yadata, Tangan only see Juta, that Tenzu Judend to Chaguaris. Me Yendaka Rang Nyawalata, and Song Nail, you will Maris. Rangili opinion, but tea and the Ram ever Zen, they say go at the Rangili opinion, Moti won't somebody's.
Great Indian sage and philosopher Arya Nagarjuna has also said elsewhere that the delusions are the real causes of our problems and suffering. It is the delusions in our mind which throw us into unfortunate states of rebirth and where we experience untold suffering. It is not that somebody, a fellow human being or a sentient being, could do that to us. It's not that others would like to send us to the hell or the bad migrations, and then they kind of book the ticket and send us there. It is our own delusions which precipitate and send us, to the unfortunate states of rebirth, and that's what we need to recognize.
Geli dentro tangit, Miguel Dungi Kunse, Miguel Wally Dungi Kuns, Geli dentro tangito, Omarinchi Town, Canando.
So in his precious garland or Ratna Avali, as Geshe quoted lines, all the fortunate rebirths and the comforts and happiness therein, they come from virtuous actions or positive actions. All the unfortunate states of rebirth and the suffering there comes from negative karmic actions.
That indeed, that Ranjulia Pidat, Maba Zoyaleta, the Shanju sent out only to be sharing, but that's our child.
So if the real enemies are delusions residing in our mind, and we really need to fight with them and get rid of them, then our best tools or the methods are to cultivate bodhicitta and the wisdom realizing emptiness called wisdom gone beyond.
That Shanju sent the Diva Shanju sent me at the Gombina, the Shuk Chimbotan, Niva Chimbotunga, Karisena. They were sired the sinking Latin Sayori, so that Shanju same going to Tani, sinking turn to Sanji Combatoni, sinking Taki Dunga the tower, they do what them dark shaking somebody you are sending of the future which had those.
Cultivating bodhicitta is among the most powerful antidotes to purify ourselves of negativities and mental obscurations. Why, if you ask? The reason why is because most of the negativities that we do and accumulate are done in relation to sentient beings. So because of that, now when we truly care for sentient beings and we truly wish to become an enlightened being to benefit sentient beings, then that kind of a bodhicitta attitude is so effective and powerful to purify our negativities.
다 동의도비 혈에들 안줄 제거 때 동의도비 혈을 안줄 마시나 녀모 바탕 계지도박 잡아다 제 토요야만 다 되게 뭐 진년부 생회도 동의도비 혈을 손사 동의도비 혈을 안줄인가 봐서 세고.
While bodhicitta is a very powerful and effective practice and method to purify our negativities, but in order to uproot delusions, to cut the delusions from the very root, we must cultivate the wisdom realizing emptiness as it is. Because as a matter of fact, it is this wisdom gone beyond which is the direct antidote to get rid of our delusions for good.
That the Junsinger, Karin and Badi Chujitava, Badi Churaka, Lizundo, some so mountain commissions. Hinding about Saki means. Security, that Saki means. There's a Shambata, Niji, but any Dangzita, any Zintang was in Gaguyama. So the things and any map soil, Danzi, Shambat, Danzi, map soil, we need Dogmariscan. Then I same touch and you say you were.
Great Indian master Acharya Dharmakirti Kadampa, very profoundly stated in his work, as Geshe quoted the lines from his memory, he said that love, etc., means there are other attitudes in this, etc., do not counteract ignorance. And therefore, and he goes on. So basically what the great Indian master Dharmakirti is telling us is that however wonderful positive attitudes such as love or great love and great compassion, and they care about sentient beings so much, but they are not the real antidotes to our ignorance. Why? Because the way these attitudes, love and compassion, see sentient beings and relate to them do not contradict, do not counteract with how our ignorant conception grasps at self and phenomena. In other words, in order to get rid of our grasping at self, we need to find antidotes which can directly, which is antithetical to, directly antithetical to its modes of apprehension. And love and compassion do not do that. They are incapable of, doing that, and they are not antithetical to grasping at a self, which is ignorance.
So, then Kachambo Sonsa Maranzo, Teresa, Malam Jilzani, Moatele, Shanku Senjur, which is Shanku Center, which is Mashapan, Rangila Mashavan, Sheva, Konakon Kirkus. Antagana, Tony to hear Rangila Mashavan, Sheva, Konakon Kirkus, Maranzo Malam Jagger. That the Shanku Center, which is a Tony to be hearing you, but the Kachambo Sonsa and those in Aranzo at Moata, the lake to the Ani Hoyas.
Because of the importance and essentiality of bodhicitta, as well as the wisdom gone beyond in our spiritual development and to accomplish our ultimate spiritual goal, at the beginning of the teaching we always cultivate bodhicitta motivation, and then in our dedications we recite a stanza which basically states that by the power of our merit, may we be able to cultivate bodhicitta that we have not yet cultivated in our mind. Or in the case of those who have already cultivated bodhicitta in the mind, may they be able to enhance it infinitely. Then we modify the same stanza to incorporate cultivating the wisdom realizing emptiness, Tongyi Tawa Rinpoche, the view of emptiness. And we say that by the virtue we have created, may we be able to realize emptiness that we have not yet realized. And in the case of those who have realized the view of emptiness, may we be able to enhance it infinitely. So all these dedication practices we do at the end of our teaching or in our practice all point to the fact how essential and important it is for all of us to cultivate bodhicitta and the wisdom gone beyond, in our mind.
That's the 아니 먼저 가르라고 그 시간에 가서 교육을 봤어. 제가 나란서 람 땡긴가 람 만화와 땡긴가 딱 이게 고시 рем보 위에 딱 계시면 쉬고 차거든. 나란서 아니 연티 싸워 연티 산지 싸워 아니 랑 교육이 두고 손자 저런 뭐지 고시 개배 때 그러는 거만 짜고 그랬어. 제가 계속 전부 지금 숨 나란서 팀 하는 제가 도왔어. 그 하고 그랬어.
And let me also add to that, in our dedications, we say one stanza which wishes for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And that's also very important in the sense that we recognize the importance of spiritual guru, or we call Lama, teacher, to guide us and to lead us on the spiritual path to enlightened state. And so in order to appreciate the great kindness of our Guru, we pray to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, saying that in the land of snows, you are the source of benefits and happiness, and your name is Tenzin Gyeltsen. May you live for eons. So we pray to His Holiness because He is the source of our, everything, happiness, spiritual attainment, and you just name it. So by praying to Him for His longevity, that we are praying for the long life of our spiritual gurus. So as it is stated in the authentic Buddhist literatures, that qualified spiritual masters are the real source of all our spiritual attainments and spiritual qualities. And so therefore, as we can see that in our dedications we are doing really very important dedications. So I'm sharing these, few thoughts here about dedication prayers as we do it at the end of the teaching or at the end of your practice. So you should be able to appreciate and reflect on the importance of those factors. As we recite the stanza to develop bodhicitta, stanza to develop wisdom gone beyond, stanza to pray for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So now we really know why we do these dedications and why these dedications are so crucial and important.
Never machine something about the semi jaguars. Never say Mashiba. Danda Mashiba, Sinki, Mashiba Shoik said, showing the Territan, you say, never Mashiba Husan, not jaguars.
So once again, I want to remind you of the often quoted words from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, that in our everyday life, if we could benefit and help sentient beings, we should try to do that. Even if we could not help and benefit others, at least in our mind and heart, we should not think of anything negative to hurt other sentient beings. Not only do we, feel that way for this life, but we also pray that in our future lives, may we never have any negative attitude and thoughts hurting sentient beings. So I thought these are some of the important thoughts that I wanted to share with you in order to serve as a reminder to myself and to others who know about these things, but then it is also new message and information to the new people, and these are the important things that we should all think about. Now let me return to this wonderful text called collection of advices from Kadampa Geshes, personal advice from Kadampa Geshes, and continue from where we left off last week.
Voilà, ta yang dere ta kasing hema de yeba changzu se yeba changzu rumbuche ke ta majika nando ta trin ta kanre yeba changzu rumbuche ke da dirkima loma so sumber ta kanji.
So we have, listened to this, great master Yerba Shangzun Rinpoche last week, and we are again listening to him, his advices to us and to his students.
Ta tamji chempes sanje topren dona seta. Number tanji chimbi hita denki ke sanje kompa topren dona seta sum.
Now he said, if you really want to attain omniscient state of Buddhahood, then you should do this.
Dona, ta mandri pa number sum, ane mandri pa number sum ta demba chigu res kana. Mandri pa number sum denga tande chigu res.
So if you really want to attain omniscient state of Buddhahood, then you should see that you are free of these three, what we call mixings, literally, mandeba.
No.
Deva is to mix, and mande means not to mix. What maybe in today's ordinary language it means we should be free of these three types of mess.
Ta dire, ta ale tangbo de ngazi yakos tangures. Ane rang gyawa sin di namto tamande pa gös. Te gyawa rang gyawa kang drupate. Rang gyawa kang drupate ane sin di namto tamande pa gös. Sin di shagal ma ta matwe pa göta. Di ten main pa göta.
So what are the three things that we should not mix with, or as three types of mess that we should not be involved with? The first one is called whatever positive actions or virtues that we do, they must not be mixed with the worldly concerns of this lifetime. So that would be a big mess. So don't mess up our virtues with the worldly concerns of this life.
Gyawa kariki drupa ina gende, sendi nanto dan mande pe gyo son chani, sendi ane tam nyendra tang, togo tam sun, ata teniki tang, di kuno teniki meba tang, hoa teniki mangwe pa gogo res kana.
So what does it really mean that we must not, mix our virtues with worldly concerns of this lifetime or mess up our virtues with such worldly concerns? What really meant is, we should check with our motivation as we do positive things. Where our motivation is something to do with okay, if I do this virtuous thing, then maybe people will recognize me, and then I become very, famous and very well known, and maybe I will also become rich. And so then, all of these things, these are worldly concerns. And also at the end of the virtue, we should see that we do not dedicate our virtue in the wrong way, by the power of this virtue, may I become rich and famous and bold and beautiful. No, that's a mess up. So we don't want a mess up dedication here. So we should see that, as we do virtuous things, we don't have a messed up motivation and messed up dedication.
Tsendi ane reta tendikin ane tendi mangbondo wa tsendi ane shagala tsamma tani kyo drupa ina to kyo ndogu ya mare. Kyo droya te shewa shima penkile ane penya ke che tsamma te kunlo te tangshi daga na ye ta ngwa shi de daga na ye go go.
So when we talk about practicing Dharma or spirituality, we really define it in a way that we are doing it with a pure motivation to benefit our future lives, to benefit others. So if we do anything for this life with worldly concerns, even if what we do is what we call Dharma, but because of our impure motivation and worldly attitudes, what we do, which may look like a Dharma, will not become Dharma. So it will be a mess up.
Ta tambu deshe, ta nipa de lunga ke shepas, nyum bata madrepa ki goesu, ta rang ke lu ki shepatang, lu ke kunshe, nga ke shepa nga ke mhajwe. Ta tenzu chamalo ane ta
And then the master advises us that second thing is the second mess up that we should not have is see that our actions of body and speech, our physical and verbal actions are not mixed with delusions. They are not contaminated by delusions. So we should see that our actions of body and speech are not messed up by delusions.
Somebody gompa rang sanje ta mande pa ji gus rang gom jabata gom ta karishim gezo kariji shebe yena ya te ane rang sanje ta mande pa ji gus ya ta rang do easy chil sambe mago pa ji gus kanang ta tel.
And then the third thing is that we should not mess up is when we do meditation, gomba, or cultivation practice, we should see that it is not messed up with our selfish interest. And so in other words, that as we do our meditation, we should see that our meditation is not motivated by, it's not directed by, or undergirded by selfish motives. That there's so much a big I want to be, Buddha. Just like, I is so important. So don't mess up meditation with such selfish attitudes. So the term Rang Sangye, which literally could be translated as solitary realizers, or literally means solitary Buddha. That's explanation, Pratika Buddha. So our meditation must not be messed up by that attitude. What we really mean is that Shirvakas, or the hearers, and Pratika Buddhas, or the solitary realizers, what they are seeking is nirvana, or complete freedom from samsara or cyclic existence for their own sake. So they're personally interested in that. So we cannot, we should see that our meditation is not messed up with such a, personal interest, just to become a Buddha for my own sake. It doesn't work anyway. So don't do that.
The Mande Basum great the Hakosons, Rang Chudre, and Sendi, and then Nantota Mande Bachish, and a Rang Lutang, Shabbat, and Yum, what I made by Chish. Easy. That Rang Gom Jayatan, Geshes at Zone, Randu Easy Loy, Sambe Makuba Chis, Sinking to Hogres Canon.
So now I hope you have understood what the great master is telling us, that we should see that our practice and action must not be mixed with three things, and I use the word mess up. So don't mess up practice and virtue. So the first mess up is when we do practice or virtue, see that our practice and virtue are not messed up with the worldly concerns of this lifetime. And the second mess up is that our actions of body and speech are not messed up with delusions. We should see to that. And then the third mess up that we should see to is our meditation is not messed up with our selfish motive or interest.
Lam ta nyen tu je lam nga yo che sa de dre ne rembe pe kali shabu jen thogu er ma ta tensu pe yam kar se go te magu ba de se jua ma.
But I would also like to clarify and emphasize this point. When we say that, Shirvakas, hearers, and Pratika Buddhas, solitary realizers, they are primarily seeking their personal nirvana or liberation from samsara. So we should not have such attitudes in our practice. In no shape or form whatsoever we are trying to undermine them or be disrespectful to them. As a matter of fact, these are great practitioners of Dharma, and so it is not easy even to be like them, to be honest. They are sincerely seeking liberation from samsara, and they train their mind, and they progress on the 5 paths, from the path of accumulation or to the path of no more learning, according to their yanas or the vehicles, and then they achieve their goals. So they are great. We respect them, and we appreciate them. But if our goal is to attain complete enlightened state for the benefit of sentient beings, then our meditation must not be messed up with such selfish interest.
So that when you do Nyamu Geshe Tsultim Gyeltsen Ngara that Nyamu Tik Pang la Kai Kabu Hyung do that. Just Nyamu Geshe Tsultim Pang, the Pang any Pang be and they David the Tobio now your risk.
So let me give you one more statistical data, so to speak. The reason why we need to appreciate the Shavakas and Patika Buddhas. As a matter of fact, those who have attained nirvanas through that path, they are called the Arhats or the Arhants of Shavakas and Patika Buddhas, and they have abandoned all the delusions. Now imagine that. There are 84,000 forms of delusion in each of us, and those who have become the Arhats or the Arhants of Shavakas and Patika Buddhas are completely free from 84,000 delusions. When we have a hard time getting rid of one delusion, now think about that they got rid of 84,000 delusions, all of them, you see. So they certainly deserve our appreciation and respect.
So that Dami to be here, Ranjuli Shay Nanger, Dami to be here, Ranjuli Machina, thanking him a cubing bus, Yomo but Japan to Maris. Dami wasn't to be here. Dami to be here, a Maibi, Dami wasn't to be here, Power in Cheta, Tolam Tony, Dami wasn't to do.
So how did they do that? They have, realized non-conceptually what is called selflessness or emptiness. Because it is the wisdom gone beyond, the wisdom realizing selflessness or emptiness, which is the direct antidote to get rid of all the delusions, and they did that. So their experience of emptiness is not intellectual, you see. It is not incomplete. It is complete in its own entirety experience that they have, non-conceptually and directly realized emptiness as it is, and through that they were able to get rid of all the delusions from within their mind. So I already explained to you earlier the importance of cultivating wisdom gone beyond.
Ranjay and Yentil Labi Kava Jal Sosa, Sirukava Jayjus, Kava Jal and Sosani, Ranjay Combatabilita, at the Litigo, so that you teach him that day, Ningu at the Yenata, Randu, Shanjus Sambali, Tamingu, Karin, Randu is Lote, Mava in Sani, Di Chani, and Shanjus Sambalita, Mingu.
So if we compare Patika Buddhas or solitary realizers to hearers or Shavakas, Patika Buddhas actually accumulate much more merit than the Shavakas, and they, I think, spend another extra 100 eons to accumulate merit to be able to realize their nirvana or nibbana. So that's all amazing and great, We are no way undermining those things. But what we are saying here is this, that from the perspective of Bodhisattvas, point of view, still the Shavakas and the Patika Buddhas are subordinate in the sense that their motivations and attitudes are not altruistic. They are still seeking their personal nirvana or liberation. So therefore, from Bodhisattva's point of view, there's something incomplete about their motivations and attitudes.
So that into Drakamba Ranja Drakamba Nibuti, and the Sibe Tal Negu Amaris, Karin Lamshi, that Retoni of here, 동영상 또 비혈란 주셔야 있잖니 안에 들이 세배 탈 내가 말이지 세배 쓸라면 내기서 거 동영상 또 비혈란 주셔야 있잖니 신탈 내가 말이지
As it is stated elsewhere, that with wisdom knowledge you do not abide on the extreme of samsara or cyclic existence. And that is very true in the case of Shravakas and Patika Buddha Arahants. Because of their knowledge of the path, lamshe, or the wisdom realizing emptiness as it is, they have abandoned all the delusions and they are free from samsara, cyclic existence, so they do not abide on the extreme of samsara. However, they are stuck in the solitary peace of nirvana. So they are stuck in the extreme, at least for the time being, in the solitary peace of nirvana. It is stated elsewhere, as Geshe quoted the line from his memory, with great compassion, one does not abide on the extreme of solitary peace. So the arahants or the arahats of Shravakas and Patika Buddhas, although they are liberated from samsara, but they are stuck in the solitary peace of samsara. Why? Because they have not yet cultivated great compassion, ma karuna. So without great compassion, you get stuck in this particular extreme. So as Maitreya in his Abhisamaya Alankara, or ornament for clear realization, states, Geshe quoted the lines, Sheve Sila Mineshi, with wisdom knowledge you don't abide on the extreme of samsara or cyclic existence. Nyingji Shila Mineta, with great compassion you do not abide on the extreme of solitary peace.
So that young Nimatination Nindo Kinala, Kintal Malu Tokis, Singis. Natak Himala, Kintal, you are the inn of Sanji Meshavuni, you need to Marazol Devi and you need to pay humble charge of Canonso.
So really we have to be, the point I'm maybe trying to make here is that we really need to understand the vital points of Dharma so that we appreciate the great qualities of Shravakas and Patika Buddhas, but what they are lacking, their limitations, you see. So that's very important for us, you know. Compared to us, these arahants of Shravakas and Patika Buddhas are amazingly great. The qualities they have are just as huge as Mount Meru. You know, we don't have anything, really. But they got their limitations, and that's what we're talking about.
You thought in a person, Sanjay compared to Mabot and the Maris. Nickel and the Heavy Talayin in those in the Heavy Developers, Heavy Develop, Kentas Heavy Develop in. You are the inner and Sanjay Jenny, Rosage Kuni, and the Nevada and Sanjay the same shade, Sanjay Comatoguris.
But when I say that arahants or arahats of Shravakas and the Patika Buddhas are stuck in the solitary peace of nirvana, peace and happiness, I mean is for a while or temporarily. We don't mean like they are doomed forever. You know, what happens is, after a while, you know, enlightened beings of the Buddhas, through, great light, the emanates, activate, awaken them from their state of solitary peace and happiness and motivate them to work towards a complete enlightened state. So they are not really stuck forever in the solitary peace, but for the time being.
So those
who have, studied extensively the subtle points and differences in the monastic studies, then we really do differentiate between many things like, there are beings who have first completed all the paths of maybe Sharvakas or Patika Buddhas, and then they enter into the Mahayana paths or the Bodhisattva paths. So these beings are very different from other beings or practitioners who from right beginning they enter into the Mahayana paths. So in terms of realizations and spiritual progress, there are quite differences between such practitioners, and those are the things we study in monastic studies, and we debate on those things. Okay, so I have prayer requests for people who are no more with us. Nick Omadikov. This is maybe the 50th day of Nick, and then Kiki Gray, and Charlotte Andrew. So prayers have been requested for their good rebirths. And then I would like to remind you of some important events coming up. There is the Nyungne of Fasting Retreat of Buddha of Compassion coming soon near you. So it is on Friday, November 30th at 7:30 in the evening is Introduction to Fasting Retreat. Kesala will be giving that. And on December 1st, Saturday, the real Nyungne first day practice will start at 6 a.m. and 6:30. Okay, now you take it. Early the better, I guess. So retreat begins exactly at 6:30. And then on the second day is Sunday, December 2nd, second day of Nyungne, which will really purify your negativities. Those who did it, you know that. And so it will start at 6:30 as well. And then December 3rd, Monday morning at 6, you will be served light breakfast, and so you will complete your Nyungne retreat and go to work and school. And then on December 4th, Tuesday, is the Lama Tsongkhapa Day, which is the anniversary of Manjushri Lama Tsongkhapa. And at 7:30, we will have observe the anniversary with the offering of lights and talk offering, and everybody is welcome to that. Bring cookies and fruits and all the yummies. Then on December 9th, Sunday, we have Mr. Pema Chinjur, former cabinet minister in the Tibetan government in exile, speaking on his life experiences relating to Tibetan culture. That will be at 1:30 in the afternoon, right after the teaching, after you have something to eat.
Shadong Goli Jenge Jabo Doma
Jadong Gebo Zombio Sanje Dong Kano Kande de la Tete Bon Jumbo Jere Zono Chase Omanu Bemo 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 Omanu Bemo
ane jawi gino be chepe tinji shi dama ni kuse jabe tamba ja tinji gino da me me ndo yongwa ta ane kyo dongki ji sho phomo na ji kundi ji jawa na ngi chen ndo ba ta gidi ji kam de da yendo nti bi gu chota da hin tinji le sota da me me ndo yongwa sho.
By the power of collective merit accumulated through participating in this teaching, may Dharma, the source of benefits and happiness, flourishes throughout the universe. May His Holiness the Dalai Lama and all other great spiritual masters live long and be successful in fulfilling their visions benefiting sentient beings. May spiritual communities throughout the world and spiritual practitioners from all traditions remain healthy, harmonious, and be successful in fulfilling their spiritual aspirations. May this and other world environments be free of all kinds of unwanted pains and problems, and beings find peace, happiness, prosperity, and spirituality. Last but not least, we dedicate our merit, virtue, for all kind mother sentient beings to be free from the fears and dangers of two types of mental obscuration, and may we all reach complete enlightened state quickly.